Tommy. Our guest is Mr. Jack Kavanagh.
All right, Jack.
How are you, Tommy?
Good. Fred is going to help you up. All right. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Were you always in a wheelchair?
I wasn't always sitting down, no.
No. Did you have an accident or something? Or
I did, yeah. About 9 years ago now. I used to spend my summers working as a lifeguard and a windsurfing instructor down the west.
Yeah.
And it was just at the end of my first year in college, about to go into the second year, and spent a wonderful summer down there in Belmullet teaching young people.
Oh my God.
In the Wild West.
Big wind in Belmullet.
Serious wind.
And big water.
Exactly. And just a great place to be outdoors and exploring, you know?
Yeah.
And at the end of that summer, just before heading back to college, myself and a few friends headed off to Portugal for a holiday. And on the first day, I ran down the beach as I'd done so many times, and one more swim sort of a thing, and I dived in over a wave, not realising how shallow the water was, and my head collided with the sandbank and I broke my neck at the 5th vertebrae down. So life took a bit of a turn at that moment.
How come you didn't drown?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So there was 7 of us on the beach that day, and one of my best friends dived in beside me. And like all young lads, initially, as I floated up to the surface, you know, they just thought I was having a laugh, you know, and time kind of slowed down for me. And I think the fact I had so much experience in the water, I was very calm about the whole thing, but realised gradually that I was running out of oxygen here. And then Steve put his hand in under my chest and lifted me up, and he just said, "What are you playing at?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Steve, I hit my head."
You're able to talk?
I could talk at that point. I said, "Steve, I hit my head. I've damaged my neck and I can't move." Here was me thinking I was being saved, and he got such a shock that he dropped me back in the water.
Put you back. That's it.
Exactly. So, look, I was taken from the water a while later and woke up in intensive care the next day, and still remember key moments in there. You know, you're groggy when you wake up, almost like after an operation. And
can you? What was the sensation of the break? What was your awareness of what was going on?
Yeah, so completely awake and alert through the whole thing, and I felt a big impact on my forehead, and then it was a click. It was almost as if someone pulled the plug out, and my body just went limp, and the sensation was almost like an electrical shock going from the centre of my body and leaving at the extremities. And then my body just went limp and I floated up to the surface. And at that point, there wasn't any pain at that stage, but it was a sensation of heat in my neck. And that was it, really.
What was the monologue when that was happening?
Internally?
Yeah.
But I can remember being in the water, face down, not able to roll over, and you're noticing the time is going by, but it also kind of slowed down for me. And I was thinking of my parents and my 2 sisters at home, the dog, thought about the lads on the beach, and like you wonder, will they get to you on time? And if they don't, how would they deal with that, you know? And these are the kind of things going through my head, you know?
So what things do you have to let go of then in terms of an imagined future?
Yeah, God, it's a lot. Like I just turned 20 at that stage, and I was going into second year of college, hugely into adventure sports. I did a lot of running and rugby when I was younger, but like the water was always, water and mountains were always where I wanted to be.
Yeah, yeah.
Just outside exploring. And then in an instant, like you're as vulnerable as a newborn again. Like I literally was ventilator dependent to breathe. You know, learning to breathe again became my first job in rehab. I was air ambulanced home, and you know, I nearly didn't make it, and eventually end up in rehab, and you learn to breathe without the aid.
Can you talk to me about that? So you're on your back, And it's the that you can't do. Is it? It's the the lung expansion that your body just.
Yeah, so you have two sets of muscles that breathe for passively breathe for you. Your diaphragm pulls your lungs down, and your intercostal muscles pull them out and let them release in again. And my intercostal muscles didn't and don't fire. And at the time, my diaphragm, with the swelling in my spinal cord, started to go down a little bit. I started to regain a little bit of use of that.
So I kind of noticing there when you're laughing that it is a kind of, you kind of almost have to twist a little bit to get the air in. Is that right, or something? There's a kind of a.
No, it's probably just the way I look.
That's So, which hospital did you go into?
So when I got back to Ireland, I was air ambulance back to the Mater, and then to the National Rehab after that.
Okay.
And I spent 7 months there, and while I was there, I decided I'm going to be back in college and living away from home next year.
Can I stop you there now?
Yeah.
Who else is in the beds around you in the rehab centre?
A remarkable and eclectic mix of people. You have the guy in the bed across from you that is at war with the world and has a vocabulary of curses that he should get a prize for, you know. But he's at war with everyone.
Yeah.
And
just like lying back and roaring it out.
Oh, fucking everyone is having it. You have the lad in the bed beside you that's telling you the stories about needing to get back home because he has drugs he needs to get rid of in the house. And there's the lad across the street that wants to stay in hospital as long as he can because he's getting back payment on social welfare. Like, you couldn't make the stuff up.
Sounds like going to the tech.
But like the crack you have in there, and everyone's grappling with the same and different.
And were you all in around the same age?
No, huge ranges of age. But predominantly spinal injuries happen to younger men, mostly. Mixture of car crashes, falls, and so on.
How did you support each other in there? Like, was there a lot of laughing and shouting and crying and?
Oh, the crack is, like, in a really dark way, you know, you'd be in your element. Because you can say things that nobody else can say.
Yeah.
You know, and you get away with stuff that just in any other circumstance wouldn't be tolerated. And, you know, so dark humour becomes a big part of it. But there's days where you just need to pull the curtains and be with yourself. And they're the times when someone sticks their head in and says, do you want to chat? Like, or, you know, and everyone's in different places as well, you know. You've got the guy that has more function than you that you're aspiring to be towards, and then you have huge gratitude that you need. I'm lucky I'm not in that scenario as well, you know.
Yeah.
And you get an appreciation. Like, I had fantastic family support, and I had a lot of friends in college and in Dublin at the time, and all of those kind of things. So that all goes a long way as well.
So the 9 months, was it 9 months of learning how to breathe
and to brush my teeth
and brush it. So what was affected?
So yeah, practically I've regained about 15% muscle function. So I have my shoulders, my biceps, and my wrists. I have no movement from my armpits down. So
do you feel pain in your fingers?
It depends. I have like deep touch and light touch in different areas and so on. And so it's kind of nuanced in different parts, you know.
Do you live on your own?
I did when I was in college with the support of an assistant. And I moved home recently for a couple of reasons. Save up to get my own place. And do you know what? I get on really well with my family, so it's not a big deal at the moment.
What about having kids?
All possible, and different ways. So there's the likes of IVF and so on. In different scenarios, like you don't even have to go to that route. So it's all of that is certainly in the realm.
So the reason why I asked you, because I remember years ago, and you've probably seen the documentary, it was called Murder Ball,
Yeah.
where, just for our viewers who haven't seen it, so my memory of it is the C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, all those, where the break is, will determine what you're able to do.
Yeah.
And my memory of the thing is that there's this young fella, fine-looking, kind of dyed blonde, strong-looking young fella, and had a break, and didn't know if he'd ever get an erection again, and so he's been given a bath by one of the nurses, and this is maybe 6 or 7 months after the accident, and in the process of being given the bath, he gets an erection. Right? Now, he can't move his arms or his legs. He's lying there in the bath with the horn, like, and he says, the nurse was so happy for me that I got an erection that she went out and brought me mother into the bathroom. And the poor fella's lying there, and his mother's delighted.
Everyone, bring the whole family. Call the neighbours.
Jack has the horn. So in terms of, say, that with you, and you're a beautiful looking man, and it just in terms
Jesus,
of,
Tommy, first dates is next door. Chill out, will you?
just in terms of, say, relationships with, how has it affected, not so much physically, but how has it affected your kind of romantic relationships?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, do you know, it's funny. I was in a relationship at the time, and that was very much, you know, your early days in college, and you're going out with someone, and it was like very much like first love sort of a thing. And the right thing for us to do actually was to go our own way in the months after, because I needed to figure out who I was, and she needed to do the same and to live her life. And in the year since, you unbox different things at different times, and relationships is one of those things. And I remember being in my second year back at college and making a pact with one of the lads, and I said, I'm going to go on 3 dates before Christmas. And I just decided, I was like, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Because you could become closed off, or you could see a lot of sort of obstacles in the way. And I was, as I was in every scenario, amazed by, you know, the chair is a great bullshit meter. Like, it gets rid of a lot of the trivial conversation.
Yeah.
And communication is a huge part of it. You have conversations a lot sooner about certain things than you would otherwise. And I've had some incredible relationships over the years with some amazing people. So it's been a really good experience for me.
And just in terms of being with somebody physically, in terms of kissing and touching and all that, what's the experience of that?
Very much the same. Very much the same in a lot of ways, only that there's probably, you know, the heated one-night stand thing that you think about. It's everyone's ripping the clothes off each other, and you say, well, actually, I will need a hand.
I say that myself, and
You know, but genuinely, like, I think, and you're flirting around the question here, but like, the sex that I've had since I had my injury, like in the early relationships, it was kind of a learning process, like it is for everyone.
Yeah.
But now I certainly have a better time than I ever had before, because communication is more open. You get very direct about asking, well, what works well for you, what works well, do you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And in any relationship, that's only going to benefit from that, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So in terms of, so with the breathing was first, okay? And then what was the process of, so will feeling ever come back below your chest?
So I kind of made a decision at a certain point that I can't constantly spend my time worrying about that. I train a couple of days a week, 5 to 6 days a week. My body, because I enjoy training.
Okay.
I like to keep myself healthy and well. Makes me feel good. And because as a health professional, I think it's the right thing to do. And so I keep my body in the best shape I can for if there's breakthroughs and when there's breakthroughs.
So did you say you were a health professional?
Yeah, so I studied pharmacy when I was in college, and I went back and qualified after my injury. A lot of my work now is as a speaker, and I interact with organisations as well as students.
To talk about what, Jack, though?
To talk about, a lot of what I get hired to talk about is resilience. What does that actually mean? Because that's a buzzword, you know? So we break it down and we look at what are the trainable things, or what are the things you can lean on for dealing with the stresses that we all have in our lives.
Yeah. What kind of groups do you talk to?
I deal a lot with young people, but more and more I'm working with organisations like everything from the big corporate stuff down to smaller organisations. I do a bit of work in the disability field as well.
Yeah.
So it's a nice mix. Life has brought me in really interesting directions.
Yeah.
Like I said, places I probably wouldn't have been, people I would never have met.
Can you also be a bit of a bollocks?
Absolutely. And I get leveled to the ground when I'm with the lads, and that's the way it should be, you know.
Can I ask you, who do you love?
Who do I love? Well, immediately I'm thinking of all my family. I'm thinking of so many relationships in my life. Yeah. It's simple.
Who's your best friend?
I'm very lucky that I have a lot of best friends, very close friends. At times I probably think it's my dad, actually, which is a really interesting thing that maybe a few years ago I wouldn't have said. But it went from maybe being a parent relationship to a step further, and he has the same kind of adventurous spirit that I have. And we've done a lot of things together and been a lot of places together that I thought I'd never get to again. And that he had the willingness, but also the little bit of mischievous spirit in him as well.
Yeah.
That is still very much alive, you know, and yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure talking to Jack.
Likewise, Tommy.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Up Mullet.
Up.